As global markets move to tax polluting imports, energy-intensive exporters with a green advantage stand to gain, like Tasmanian zinc producer Nearstar, which is run on hydroelectricity.
Tasmania has been a net exporter of renewable energy to the mainland, so that makes us able to produce some of the greenest zinc in the world.
Zinc refinery Sun Metals in Townsville plans to be 85% powered by renewables by 2030.
So it's the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do.
The Australian Industry Group has analysed Europe's proposed Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanisms, or CBAM, which is due to come in 2026. While zinc isn't yet covered by the tax, the group's found energy-intensive companies that don't go green could pay a hefty price.
Europe's CBAM is proposed to apply to imports of aluminium, cement, fertiliser, electricity and iron and steel.
Only 0.25% of local exports to Europe would be affected, so the impact on Australia would not be huge. Aluminium makers facing default values would pay €60 a tonne, but could rise to €700 when the scheme expands to target electricity emissions, which would hit coal-reliant producers hard. Steelmakers would pay $62 a tonne, increasing to $145, while those powered by renewables would face much lower tariffs.
What makes the difference is our actual emissions performance at home. Are our industries able to invest to keep up with the pace of decarbonisation?
Aluminium smelter Tomago in Newcastle has already seen the writing on the wall and announced a switch to renewables in 2029.
The EU itself doesn't represent a huge cost to Australian exporters, but it represents the first domino to fall. And we do have a large emissions-intensive trade-exposed industry, at least 20 billion worth of goods traded every year.
Exports of liquefied natural gas is just one example. Almost 90% of Australia's LNG goes to countries with commitments of going net zero by 2050 or 2060. Our second biggest export destination for the commodity, Japan, wants to slash its consumption of LNG within 9 years. Eyes are also on our biggest iron ore market, China, and its emissions trading scheme.
Most of Australia's iron ore does go to China. It does suggest that we could see a reduction in demand for iron ore.
The US is also proposing to tax imports from nations that lack aggressive climate change policies. The reason why some of our trading partners want to hit imports with a carbon tax is to make sure their own industries stay competitive against countries like ours that don't have an emissions trading scheme or carbon tax in place. It means the polluters here will pay just to other countries.
Ultimately, we're left paying without any of the real reinvestment into greening up our economy,
leaving companies like Sun Metals to make their own way.